Hey guys, welcome back to Boost Hunter Garage. Today I'm going to show you how to do some valve lash on your truck. This on my 07 here, kind of been noticing some more valve train noise, at least that's what I believe it is. So we're just going to go through, run some valve lash on it, make sure it's set where we need it to be. Also just got a kit to redo the gaskets on my valve cover. You can see on the truck it's kind of leaking a bit of oil around, not a ton, but you can definitely tell it's leaking around those seals a bit. So I just got the kit while I'm in there doing this other stuff. We're gonna swap that out. Hopefully that keeps that from leaking a bit and just cleans it up a bit. So we'll get right into it here. We'll get this valve cover pulled off and I'll show you the steps we're gonna do. All right, so now that you got your valve cover off, you're gonna need to be able to find top dead center. So you'll find that on your balancers the best way. They're marked here, you can kind of see, this is TDC and there's a line there. And so obviously I'm laying underneath the truck right now, it's easier to get at. And you're just gonna need a 15 mil socket to put on one of the bolts on the front of your balancer, spin the engine over, and then, well, if I can stop moving so much, we'll take a paint marker and just paint marker, grease pen. And I just write on there so that it's a lot easier to see. So like I said, from the bottom here, it's easier to do. And then what you're gonna need to do is turn the engine over so that's facing straight up, basically 12 o'clock. So either you need someone to help you to watch it or you just have to keep turning it and keep going and looking from the top. And so that way you will know that you will be top dead center, and I'll show you why we need that after, but you'll definitely want to mark this and get that spun straight up so it's, you know, essentially 12 o'clock. So I'll get that spun around and I'll show you from the top side. All right, so we got it spun up. I'll try to show you here. It's kind of tough with the, see here, you can see the line right there. So the balancer's facing straight up. And so when you're at top dead center, you're either gonna be top dead center on cylinder 1 or cylinder 6. So when I first spun it around, I was actually on 6. So I spun it another 360 so that I'm on cylinder 1 here, just so it'll be easier to show you. And you can tell by both your intake and your exhaust rocker will be loose. If you can hear that, they'll wiggle a bit. They won't be tight, because then you go to the next one. So you can tell the intake there's loose, but then the rocker is down, or the exhaust is down. So when you're on number 1 here, and both these are loose, when we go to adjust them here, you can do both intake and exhaust. And then it's gonna alternate through. So like I said here, the intake on number 2 is loose, so we can adjust that one, but you can't do the exhaust because it's down and tight. And then when you go to 3 here, it's going to alternate. So intake is tight, exhaust is loose, and it's going to alternate back and forth. So we'll go through and adjust them that way, and then you'll spin it 360 so that number 6 is top dead center. Both those will be loose, and then you'll be able to do your opposites. Also mention, I would, after you've adjusted them, I would mark them with the paint pen, just so you know, just so you're 100% know that you did them all. But we'll get the camera set up better here, and I'll show you how we're going to adjust these. Also, I'm going to double check the torque on the hold down bolt on them. So first, I'm going to check my torque on the hold down bolts for your rockers here. They're just 10 mil and it's 27 foot-pounds. Obviously, you're only going to do it when they're loose like this. You're not going to do it once they have the pressure against it. I'm first just going to back off the adjuster here just a small amount, so that's not affecting our torque spec. So you'll just need 14 mil wrench here to go on the nut, and you'll need an Allen. I believe this is number 5. So I'm just going to use that as your backup, and you'll just crack this a little bit. There you go, just backed off a little bit. Doesn't need to be crazy amount. I find if you get it too sloppy, you'll end up knocking rocker bridge off, any of that kind of stuff. So I'll just set it like that. And I don't have my regular torque wrench doesn't go down, so I got this just split beam style one, but should do the trick. So I'm just gonna double check my torque here. Definitely nicer using a conventional style torque wrench to do this. I need an extension. Yeah, obviously a conventional ratcheting torque wrench is going to be a lot nicer. Okay, so 27 there. Okay, so we're good there. And here I can go ahead and do, like I said before, we're going to do our opposites. I'll probably check them right as I do them too, but it's looking like we're tight enough on those. So far all of them have been good, but I just wanted to double check them while you're in here. So now you're going to need 2 feeler gauges. You're going to need a 10 thousandths and a 20 thousandths. You're going to do your intake at 10 thousandths and your exhaust at 20. And basically you just want to feel it out. You want a little bit of drag on it. So you're going to put it right down between the rocker bridge here, or valve bridge, whatever you want to call it. If I could get my hands right here. Sometimes I feel it's a fine line between you barely adjust it and it'll go from grabbing too much to too loose. So you're just gonna have to play around with it a bit. But there, I can maybe tighten it up a little bit still. I'll back it off just a hair. It's obviously hard when everything's super oily. Makes it hard to grab anything. But we got a bit of drag there. See if I can do a tiny bit more. So we got a bit of drag there, but it's not fully grabbing it. So that's where I'm gonna set that at. I'm gonna leave the gauge there for now. Just try to really back this up, good, and you tighten it, and I would check it after you do each time. I've had it where I thought I held it still and it moves your adjustment just that slight little bit. And it seemed to stay pretty good there. So like I said, 10 thousandths on your intake side, we'll do 20 thousandths on our other. And I just like to mark them here so that I know that I did it. Just for my own sake, I know I'll forget or second guess myself on that. So there, got a bit of drag on it there. Maybe a tiny bit too much, back it off. So we got a decent amount there. Go ahead and tighten this back down. So there, we stayed good, still got a little bit of drag on it. So there we have number one done. Mark it up. So we've got both 27 foot-pounds on your hold downs and then your 10 thousandths, 20 thousandths. So now that we've done number one, you can go to number two here. And so here I can feel that the intake's the one that's loose and you won't be able to, so now it's just, you're gonna alternate back and forth. You're not gonna be able to do, for example, number two here, now we're not gonna be able to do the exhaust. We're just gonna do the intake here. So grab our 10 thousandths feeler gauge here. Didn't back it off, I'm curious to see where it was at. All right, so you kind of get the idea there. You're basically just gonna alternate back and forth. And as you get to the back, obviously it's gonna be a pain to reach back there and get those ones, but that's just how it is. So I'm gonna go through, now that I did, both these, they went intake, exhaust, I'll go intake, exhaust, and then I will rotate the engine 360 degrees, bring it back to top dead center, and that way we will have number 6 at top dead center, so both those will be loose. And then at that point, we'll be able to do the opposite. So like, because I did the intake on this one, we'll be able to do the exhaust at that point. I won't bore you with that. I'll go through and get all those and we'll finish it up. All right, so I went through and did that first half, and now I rotate the engine 360 degrees, and so you can see here, like number 2, we had done this intake, it's tight now, whereas the exhaust is loose. And then as you go through, you can see the opposites. And then number 6, both them will be loose and we can adjust those. So I just want to show you that quickly. I'll go through and lash the rest of them. We'll get them all even up here. All right, so we got all those valves lashed. We're good to go there. We're gonna move on to some of this valve cover stuff. One thing I wanted to point out, it shows right on your valve cover here, your lash specs. So they give 10 thousandths intake, which we did, but they give 26 on exhaust. I mean, you can do that if you want, but I know I've always seen 20 thousandths from most, anywhere you look online, engine builders, that kind of thing, I've always seen 20 thousandths. So, but I thought I'd just point that out. And so I got this kit from Molly here, or Mall, however you want to say it. Comes with the new gasket here, which now after looking, I don't think that's where it's leaking, so I'm going to leave this. But I know for sure, like this O-rings for your oil cap here, I know I've seen it kind of blown out around there a little bit, or a bit of residue there. So for sure I'm going to do that. And then they got these little grommets you know, for around in here. And I can't tell, you know, you can tell the size difference here. These a lot taller. I don't know if it's just these from being squished down, so I'll probably change those. Give you these little O-rings. I think that's for underneath here. But my main leaking now that I was in here after work on this stuff is a bit out of here, and then these breathers, because I've before thrown these out by mistake instead of just pulling the hose off. And I think, like, looking in the engine bay, this is where most of the oil residue is coming from. I'm gonna pull these out. I don't think, obviously they don't come with an O-ring for these. So I'm gonna see if I have some O-rings, or I might just use some RTV. And I'm pretty sure it's coming between here where these thread in. And if I'll keep an eye on, I might put a clamp on the hose on here. But I'll go ahead and switch this stuff out and we'll get it back on the truck. All right, so I was wrong. This O-ring's obviously way too big for this, so I'm just gonna have to find an O-ring. I'm not 100% sure what that's for. That might be for the filter in here, or whatever you wanna call it, for your breather. So I'm not 100% sure, so I'm just gonna go ahead, pull these out, and pop these out, and these fit nice and tight, these ones, so I'm gonna switch these out while I'm here. They definitely tight to get on here. Almost second guessed myself thinking this might have been the wrong one, but I just looked it up and it's for 03 to 07 trucks. So I'm gonna swap those out, and I'm gonna see if I have some different O-rings for these. I think for now, after inspecting this, I don't think it was leaking out the side. So I'm just gonna go ahead, swap these. I'm gonna find a different O-ring. I'll probably have to go buy one, but find something that'll fit this, because I know for sure it was coming out here. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so we got the valve cover back on, tightened down. I kind of wiped it up a bit. That aside, obviously we got all our Lash done, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire the truck up here. See if it sounds like I got a little less, the ticking kind of valve train noise, see if it quieted it down. All right, well, I'm not sure how well the camera picked it up. I guess I should have taken a video before trying to show the noise, but I would definitely say it's quieted down quite a bit. It was definitely pretty rattly before. It was needing this for a while. I shouldn't have pushed off so long, but it was definitely worth doing. Definitely quieted it up here, run a little smoother. So as for the valve cover gaskets, those kind of things, I think what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up really good, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it. If I have to, I'll switch that on. When it comes to the valve cover, it's pretty easy. Obviously, just 6 bolts you got to pull out, and I can adjust that. The 2 ports on the side, the one I end up just RTVing around because I didn't have a big enough O-ring for it, so we'll see if that helps. But definitely sliding the hoses on, they kind of feel loose, so I'll probably end up putting a little like gear clamp or something on those to see if that's what's leaking. But there you go. It's pretty simple, not too technical to run valve lash on your truck. So hopefully this was helpful and you're able to do it on your own. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.